Everybody, hope you're all doing well. I'm just out today for a bit of a sort of training camp day really. I've bought a load of equipment that I haven't used for a while just to test out, mainly the air rifles because I haven't done any practice with them for a while. So I used to be a pretty good shot with them, but like I say, it's probably been about 2 years since I've used them, so I want to do a bit of target practice. Also bought the alcohol burner because I haven't used that for about 3 years, so I want to make sure that's still in working order. It's a good idea just to make sure your kit's all still in working order if you haven't used it for a while and sharpen up your skills. Got this, I think it's an M5 tactical bag. I used to have it as my bug out bag, but it just wasn't that comfortable to haul a lot of gear around in. But it's just alright just for what I'm doing today. It's not the best bag in the world really, I could have done with something bigger. But I've only got a rifle case that will fit one rifle, so I had to bung them both in here with a load of other stuff. But it's not a bad bag really. I like how it opens up quite wide, so it's easy to access what's inside there, and it's got a lot of pouches on the outside too to keep things in. I've got the kettle in there and the stove and some food and whatnot. Also bought with me the old fold out pocket stool. I haven't used that for a while. Remember when I first used this I had so many people asking about it, same with the stick table, but I haven't used it for ages really. And the old stick table as well. I've been wanting to get out and do this for a while now, but the weather's just been terrible. There's been raining and wind, and with the rain I don't want to risk ruining the camera, getting damp in it, and the wind just makes it impossible really to doing your filming because all you're going to hear in the audio is so I've had to wait, which has been really frustrating. But wind just, oh god, I hate wind, piss me off. The rain I don't mind quite so much. I can find ways to put the camera underneath a tarp or something. I can bring with me some kind of shelter because I would like to do a camp out in the rain, but it's the wind that just makes it impossible to film anything. So the audio is just terrible, messes my hair up, it's a nightmare. Here are the rifles. One's a .22, one's a .177, both air rifles. Kind of pimped out the 177 a bit, camoed it up. It's only a cheap one, so I thought I might as well. Here's the pellets. I mean, God, you can store hundreds of these. I think I've about 500 each or something silly like that, of each calibre. So it'll last you a while. Just some dead logs I'm gonna use as my targets. Some specific areas that I'm aiming for, see how well I do. Don't know if you can see there, but it did hit. It hasn't penetrated. I don't know if that's because I was quite a way away. Because well, I suppose it's reasonably hard wood, even though it's dead. But yeah, I got it pretty much spot on there where I was aiming for. Not bad. Just to show you the distance that I'm firing from, you can see where the tripod is there. That was the .22. Now I'm going to use the 177. So I'll get on with this. I can use the bipod this time. The scope on the 177 has really given me grief. It was only a cheap scope, so maybe it's just buggered, but it's really difficult to see through now. Not getting a good shot from it at all. So it might be that I need to get a new scope for it. Try it like this without the bipod. Oh, that's a bit better actually. Well, actually my shot's not too bad with both of them, but I definitely need to get a new scope for the 177, I think. It's just too narrow. It really makes it more difficult to use. and it's not all that clear either. Like I say, it was only a cheap one I got for this because it was a cheap air rifle. And I mean, I would tend to use the 0.22 anyway, but it still would be good to have a decent scope for the 177 just in case I ever do want to use that as well as a backup. But other than that, they seem to be in good working order. My aim's pretty good. Not to blow my own trumpet, but yeah, but still it's good to just make sure and sharpen up a little bit. I bought this Ka-Bar tactical spork with me, which is something I just found so ridiculous I had to get one. That's just something funny about a tactical spork. It's actually not a bad little spork really. Not as thin and compact as the metal ones I've got. I've got a stainless steel one I use normally, but it's got a nice actual spoon / fork end to it, and it's more comfortable to use because it's got a sort of a thicker handle, and it basically separates in the middle, and you've got a little plastic serrated knife which works pretty well actually. So kind of a nifty little thing, even though it's just ridiculous in concept. That stick table holds quite a lot of weight. So you've got a tin of food there, 2 bottles full of water, almost 2 litres there, as well as the fuel for the alcohol burner. It's got this Campart cook set. I don't use it much because I tend to favour my Yugoslavian mess kit, but this is still a really nice canteen set. Got quite a bit with it. There's a little pan which also works as a lid for the frying pan. It's got the frying pan itself there. Nice fold out handle, nice and solid. Then in here I've got a saucepan with a lid. Burner itself, which I've had to do some repairs on where it was leaking, so it would be interesting to see how that still works. Got a couple of small bowls which they're a bit too small, I don't really find them that useful, and 2 tiny plates which once again they're too small really to be of any use for anything, but still a little bit extra in there I guess. Got this tinned curry with me. They're quite nice, but they're a bit watery, and there's no vegetables or anything in them either, so normally I like to add quite a few vegetables that I've grown in the garden, chopped up to put in there just to add a bit more flavour to it, a bit more variety. Got the alcohol here, the fuel. I just tend to put some in a little travel bottle that you get in those kits for taking on aeroplanes. Hopefully this will taste better than it smells. I've had some of the milder tinned curries before, but not this hotter one. But I prefer hotter, more spicy curries, so I should like this more, but it's just the smell that's really putting me off. It smells a bit like diarrhea. Doesn't look massively different to diarrhea either, just more orange. But after eating this, maybe that is what it's going to look like for me tomorrow. And there's the old fold-out table and chair. This is definitely a lot more flexible than it used to feel. I don't know if I've just put on weight or what, but definitely a bit of wobble in it from side to side when I'm sitting on it. They used to advertise that a sumo wrestler could sit on that, but I have my suspicions about that. See, that's definitely wobbling around a bit there. I'm sure it used to be tighter than that. I've got it set as tight as it'll go as well, but it's feeling a bit dodgy. But if you get it just right, you have to kind of balance with it, so depends how comfortable you're going to be with that. Once I get it balanced and I don't move around too much, it is actually quite comfortable to sit on, but still I can see why that would not work for a lot of people. They'd find it a bit uncomfortable and a bit awkward. But the table, I still stand by. It's a great little table to bring out with you when you're camping, especially if you're just on a solo trip and you've just got a rucksack full, so you don't want to be hauling too much stuff around, but you do want just a little worktop to have your food and drink on. While I'm waiting for the curry to cook, which I've got to admit smells disgusting, So let me show you my Tool Logic knife. I used to use this all the time, but I haven't used it for a couple of years now because I got a more sort of legal friendly UK everyday carry knife. But I used to carry this one with me everywhere, and it really is such a great knife. It's my favourite pocket knife I've had. Nice easy flip out motion, got a fire lighter in there, whistle, it's really loud. So yeah, I do miss carrying this, but it's just a bit dodgy I guess in the UK to have a locking folding knife just in case I get stopped and searched or something. Brought my Alox kettle with me as well. I love this little kettle. Make myself a drink to wash out the taste of that curry. But it might be alright actually once I get eating it. Maybe the smell is misleading. We'll see. Right, moment of truth. Got my handy tactical spork with me. No, it tastes alright actually. No, that just tastes nice. Definitely could have done with some chopped up beans and things thrown in there, but yeah, this is pretty nice. Well, the alcohol stove seems to be in pretty good working order. I'll do a bit more target practice in a minute. I can use the empty curry tin now. But really wanted to sharpen up a bit, just get outdoors again. Been doing a lot of preparing lately. I still need to sort of properly restock things. I've done quite a bit, but I think one more shopping run should do it. I've been tending to the garden a lot, make sure that I've got lots growing for autumn and winter this year. Because normally my tomatoes and cucumbers last me through till December, so I get quite a good crop from them, and I've got loads growing this year, more than I normally would because of the situation. Because I mean, there's bound to be a second wave going into winter on top of the regular flu season, so that's going to make things more difficult. I also think it's going to be harder to get people to go into lockdown and social distance because people are already fed up with it. At first everyone was taking it seriously, but I think now more and more people just aren't taking it seriously, don't really care, just fed up with it. So I think trying to instigate a lockdown again is going to cause some real problems on top of the economic impact, and we're going to feel that for a few years to come, probably more so in the next year or two than we are now. So there's a lot to prepare for at the minute, a lot of potential problems. You know, second wave, social unrest, we're already seeing that. And even though it wasn't directly because of the pandemic, I do think that had just set up a tinderbox. I think people were just on edge after being in lockdown and stressing about that. So it didn't take much to spark that off, and I think we're going to see more of that if the government try and enforce a lockdown next time and become more heavy-handed with it. Like say the pandemic itself, and then the after effects on the economy. So getting food now, getting fuel now, because fuel's, you know, it got a bit cheaper, so stocking up on fuel and food at the minute, definitely a good idea. And just sharpening up on your skills just in case, getting the garden in order if you can do. This is actually where I came for my first ever camp out video back in 2013. And I'd always planned on coming here once a year, just out of nostalgia really, as kind of a tradition, because it was the first place I camped out. But I only did it till about 2015. I don't think I've been back here since. So, God, 5 years since I've been here. And it does look different. The bracken used to come all the way up to here. sort of, and I was camped right in front of it, but now it's back quite a bit for some reason. I don't know if there's just more leaves sprouted out on the trees now that are blocking the sunlight from the ground here, but I almost didn't recognise it. It's only because there's certain markings on a tree that I recognised it. I'm really missing the gym. I think they're reopening in a couple of weeks, but even then I'm still not sure if I really want to go back. Guess it's just everyone's in there puffing and panting all over the equipment. You've got God knows how many people's hands touching all the weights and that. Even though the risk's probably really low now, so I've probably just been a bit silly and a bit overly concerned about it. But it's one of those things where the risk is going to creep up. So if I do go back now, at what point do I then stop again? Because I'll need to stop before the government says so, just like with the last outbreak. I sort of stopped everything, work, gym, everything, about 2 weeks before the government decided to actually say, oh, maybe it's a good idea now if we do a lockdown, and that's why it got so bad, because they left it too long, and they'll do it again this time. And I do understand the problems with the economy, not to mention getting everyone to just go along with a lockdown, but I don't need the government to tell me when I think it's sensible to sort of isolate myself from people. So I don't know if it's worth really going back to the gym just for a month or two, just to then have to stop again anyway. But I'm really losing discipline with working out at home. I do quite a lot of press-ups and that, but when it comes to the arm workouts, I'm being so lazy, and I'm really struggling to get a pump out of it anyway with the few weights that I've got. So I'm definitely seeing a difference, which is annoying. But I'm not really too sure what to do about it. Maybe try and buy a few more weights or something, because it's just not enough what I've got at the minute. It's not really doing the job. Both hit on right through into the wood behind. That's for the 177. I definitely had more trouble though. I missed a couple of times with that, so I'm not sure how much of that's me and how much of that's the scope. The scope just seems a bit fuzzy, like it's stained inside of something. I think it's just no good anymore really. But you can see where the 22s came out the back there. So it's quite a good bit of penetration through the tin. This is all dead wood, of course, that I've got as a backdrop. I'm not firing into any living trees. Well, I'm done for the day, so I'm off home now. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Just a little day trip out, playing around with the equipment and that. Hopefully I'll do a camp out soon now the weather's getting a little bit better, fingers crossed. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again soon.